Hello and welcome to Protect and Prevent podcast. My name is Opal Singleton. I'm the host of your show. And I am also the president and CEO of an organization called Million Kids. That is MILLION, millionkids.org, not .com.org. Our organization is dedicated to keeping kids safe from predators. And I want to do a special podcast with you today, something completely different than anything I normally do. Normally, we talk about technology and how pedophiles use it and like that. What I want to talk about today is more about you as mom and dad or grandma and grandpa. And I've thought about this because people ask me how, I got a kid that just keeps making bad decisions. And they seem to always choose the low road. And or I'll have someone that is struggling with depression and wondering what to do in their family, that seems like nothing is right in their family. And other people will come to me and say, how can I train my child so they are not easily seduced? They are not easily groomed. Many, many years ago, and by the way, it is still available on Amazon, I think, I wrote a book called Seduce: The Grooming of America's Teenagers. And the reason I wrote that book is because whenever you have a case of, for instance, sex trafficking or online exploitation, a lot of times the victims are kids that are either taking chances or maybe they are easily attracted to people that want to promise them the moon but can't respond to it. Obviously, people that want to take shortcuts that may not feel great about themselves or may not make the best decisions. And so parents will talk to me sometimes and say, how do I bulletproof my kid? And I often talk about this when I'm talking in schools, especially if it's a group that's dealing with foster kids. Foster kids are so especially vulnerable, more so than most kids, because they don't have that one central foundation in their life, that one person that believed in them. Other times it's a situation where the parents themselves seem to have a lot of problems. So the title of this particular podcast, can't even say it, okay, is What You Say to Yourself Matters. And it matters to your family. One of the things that I have seen working with victims of trafficking and exploitation, online exploitation, and all kinds of situations with families is that oftentimes what I see is there's this belief that self-esteem maybe came in the DNA and their family didn't get it. I've even talked to people who say, I've just never had high self-esteem. My family didn't have high self-esteem. Well, this is not an issue of the genetics, folks. This is a decision you make. I'm always surprised when I'm talking to a group of young people and I say, self-esteem is not in your DNA. Self-esteem is a decision you make yourself. And once you decide you're valuable, nobody can take that away from you. Now, you can sabotage yourself, and I see that regularly with people who have low self-esteem. And I have come to the idea that that happens because of the kind of self-talk they have, what they say to themselves. We all at times kind of degrade ourselves. We say, well, I'm kind of a klutz. I fall a lot, or I have a short-term memory, or, I'm not all that bright sometimes, or like that. And I want to share with you that I want you to look at it in a different direction. When I learned this myself as a young person, and by the way, I'm not perfect either, okay? While we're de-emphasizing our own value, I'm not perfect either. But one of the things I learned, I kind of grew up in a dysfunctional kind of setting. And then, in fact, one of the things my mother used to say that would drive me nuts is, do as I say, not as I do. Well, if it's okay for you to do it, why isn't it okay for me to do it? Or if you want me to do better than you, why aren't you doing better than you? Okay. And one of the things that I did as a young person is I encountered a man who's long since died. His name was Dr. Dwayne Dyer. And he wrote many books that, by the way, are still very, very relevant, and they're available on Amazon. And I just bought one of them not too long ago. But one of the things he taught me is that what you say to yourself matters. In fact, it not only matters a lot, it will determine the direction of your choices. Because if you say I can't even say it, if you say good stuff to yourself, then you are going to think more highly of yourself and you are going to make better decisions for you and your family. More important, if you are raising a child, it's important to have that kind of conversation about it. That talk about the things you say to yourself will determine how you feel about yourself. Self-esteem is a choice. It is a gift you give yourself. And maybe none of your family had it, and maybe none of your family has it. But you can change that simply by deciding that you are valuable. And you know what? You can have that same conversation with your kids. Every time you make a decision to be a better person, to say things that are important to yourself, it will change the choices you make. I hope that you will decide to sit down and write out to yourself, today I am going to give myself the gift of self-esteem. I am going to make the choice to believe in myself. And I am going to share with the rest of my family that it is a choice to believe in yourself. So let's start today at finding the good in ourselves. Sit down and identify 3 things that you like about yourself and decide you are going to reinforce them. And parents, one of the things that I would share with you that I would hope that you would do is sit down and talk about this with your kids. Talk about when you feel bad about yourself. Who wins that? Because if you feel bad about yourself, you are going to reinforce it with yourself that you are not as good as other people. But what if you decide to think differently? Or what if you teach your child to think differently? You know what? They're going to be a lot harder to recruit online. They're going to be a lot harder to seduce into trafficking because they suddenly start to say, you know what? I want to be somebody. In fact, I think one of the most important things you can do as a parent is sit down together and write out some of your values. What are your values? Do you believe that people are basically good? Do you believe that you are basically good? Do you believe that your family is basically good? Because if you believe that, then suddenly, even when you interact online, you will interact differently. I remember one time talking to a young lady about sending a nude online. And that young lady said to me, well, you have to do that or they won't go out with you. Well, of course, being a parent, my first thought is if they already have a nude, what kind of date are you going to have? Okay. But what she was really telling me is that she didn't believe that any of these people saw value in herself as a person. And that's really one of the keys in talking with our kids. You see, I think it's important in online exploitation and fighting it that we sit down and we have conversation with our kids. Now, certainly I'm not against checking a child's phone. I'm not against using filters. I'm not against having those discussions about, you're online, it's my phone, and like that. But I think it is so much more powerful if we can use this opportunity of our kids going on the World Wide Web to teach them their value, because they are going to be online with millions of other people, many of which do not share your values. So before you ever put a child online, or ever be yourself even, sit down and say, what do I know about myself? What do we know about ourselves as a family? We are a family that tells the truth. We are family that are proud of ourselves and each other. We are a family who believes that it's best to do what's right. We are a family that has empathy for others. And that includes if somebody sends you a nude of somebody else, you don't send it on to somebody else. You don't laugh and make fun of them. You don't blackmail them. You don't go, oh my gosh, look at them, and reject them. You say to yourself, this could be anybody in the world, and that person is a nice person who is in a painful situation. And my values are that I am going to have empathy, even digital empathy online. I am going to every day get up and find the good of myself. I am going to have healthy self-talk. Self-esteem is a choice I make, and it is a gift I am going to give myself. And then I encourage you and your children to look and listen to your self-talk every day. Do you know that the messages that you put in your head are the most important messages that your brain will ever receive? And if you will tell your brain, I'm good, I'm valuable, I have standards, I care to help each other, I care to find the good in myself and the good in my children and the good in the rest of the family. And I'm going to get up each day and I'm going to look at what I say to myself. And if it's negative and putting me down, I am going to have a talk with myself and say, I may have said that in the future, but I no longer believe that I'm stupid. I no longer believe I'm forgetful. Okay, maybe sometimes I remember more than others, but my self-talk is going to be that I am a valuable person and I'm going to do the best I can today for myself and each other. If I have people who are mad at me or I'm mad at them, I am going to choose to forgive. I am going to choose that I am going to take the higher road. I don't know about you if you're a person of faith or not, but one of the things that I have come to understand in my own walk of faith is I looked at the Lord's Prayer. It is the only prayer that Christ or Jesus, who is my God, tells us to pray. And I looked at that prayer and I'm amazed because it is a very short prayer. Okay, I don't know how many lines, but it's maybe 8 or 10. I should count them so I know. But one of the things that is interesting is that when the Lord taught us to pray, one of the things that was most important to him is that we learn to say to forgive those who've trespassed against us. And I can tell you that when I've been in a valley in my mind, it's when I'm upset with somebody. Maybe they didn't like me. Maybe they said things about me I didn't like. Maybe they pointed out some of my flaws, which I don't appreciate. Thank you very much. Maybe they took somebody else's side. Maybe they put me down, or maybe they just didn't believe in me. Whatever it is, it gets you in a wad, you know? and your self-talk goes a mile a minute. Nah, 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 nah. I know how my brain. And another thing, I'm always telling my kids, I have an opinion, and I'm waiting for somebody to call. Nobody's called, but I'm ready if they call. And that is negative self-talk. Because what it is that we're having trouble letting go of something that I didn't like, didn't appreciate, felt hurt, felt diminished, or whatever. But I think there's a reason why the Lord taught us to pray to forgive those who trespass against us. I think that that's really important in our self talk. And I think that that's important to have in the conversation with our kids. I think it's important. One of the most important things we can do as parents, those of you that have read my book, Digital Warfare, Our Kids on the Front Line, know that at the heart of the matter is that this is the first generation of young people in the entire world that is on a globally connected world. Our kids are on there with 5.5 billion people. And why does that have anything to do with the fact of what you say to yourself matters? Because there will be literally thousands and tens of thousands of people that can reach and influence your children. Some of them are terrorists, like Group 764. They get you to carve numbers and letters in your name. Some of them are pedophiles that want your kid to send a nude photo. Some of them are overseas cartels that want to get you to send a nude photo so they can blackmail them and destroy their self-esteem. And so it's very important that we all change our self-talk, that we get ourselves as parents and as adults, as grandparents, you don't get off the hook either, okay? That we begin to teach our children that what we say to ourselves creates our character. It creates our self-esteem. And if we are going to put our children on the World Wide Web, where everybody in the world is going to get your child to try to do something that we don't believe in, then we better get there first as parents. The minute we decide to put our kids on the World Wide Web, we better start looking at parenting differently. What we say to ourselves as parents matter, and what our kids say to themselves matters. Knowing our values matters. I say this is a Christian issue, quite frankly, and yet so many in the faith base don't want to hear about online exploitation. They don't want to hear about sextortion. They don't want to hear about online child abuse. But I'm saying that we have to take this on as faith-based leaders because we are getting the first generation of young people in all of history. Our kids are the first generation that will live on a globally connected world with millions of people influencing our children. So we need to be the example they need, but we need that open, honest conversation. If you're going to put your child in a war, in a world that is digital warfare, we better arm our children to understand that they are good, they are valuable, and to take the high road and make those quality choices. What we say to ourselves as parents and grandparents matters, and what we teach our children to say to themselves matters. Being able to sit down and identify your values, write them out, who you are and what you stand for, has never been more important than in all of history because of artificial intelligence. Your child will hit a barrage of technologies that will tell them what is supposedly true and not and what is not true, and what is supposedly okay and what is not okay, and what is supposedly immoral or not. Okay? Our children need to know about digital morality. Our children need to know who they are and what they stand for. Our children need to know that when somebody is sending them an illicit photo, that is not an invitation to return one. 1 out of 6 boys and 1 out of 7 girls right now in America have sent a nude online. Right now, you send a teenage boy a nude, even some of the very, very best kids, Christian kids who have strong ideas, but you get them in the wrong moment and somebody else send them a sexual image, and without even thinking, they'll send one back. And they don't even have to send much these days with AI. Anybody that can get a picture can turn it into anything. So there is a world of people now that'll be able to access, groom, recruit, seduce, and exploit our kids. If we don't teach our children about healthy self talk, I don't care if you're 6 or you're 14 or you're 47 or you're 87. What you say to yourself matters, and what you believe about yourself will determine who you are. And the way you respond in person and the way you respond online. And I want to take that a step further. I'm getting real preachy here. Hang on with me, okay? But what your actions say to your kids matters even more than the words you're using. So if you're exposing them to pornography, if you yourself share pornography or exposing it to them, you have sent them a message that it is okay for them to go in the deepest, darkest parts of the internet and participate because it's not against the law. But we need to talk about, who am I? Am I a person that wants to do right by the females in my life? Am I a person who has strong values, and that includes sexual values? Am I a person that when I'm sent a nude, I'll send one back? Am I a person that if I find myself in trouble, will I ask for help? Or am I a person that will lie and scheme and do whatever I need to do because I can? You see, our self-talk determines the direction of our life. Our actions say even more to our children than the words we use. So I know this has been a hard podcast. I get it, okay? But I want to take you back. Just because you may have at some point in your life taken a low road, just because maybe you're not all that pretty, or people don't say nice things to you, just because you don't think so highly of yourself means that you have to live the rest of your life that way. You do not. You can change what you think. You can say what matters the most to yourself, and what you say to yourself and how you say it will determine the rest of your life. I want you today to sit down and write out 3 things you believe about yourself that are good. And I want you to take today and reinforce with your self-esteem. Self-esteem did not come in your DNA. It did not come in some divorce you had and some bad words people laid on you. It did not come from the awful things that may have happened in your life or the people that did you wrong. Self-esteem is a decision you make. And when you decide to make healthy, moral choices, and you reinforce that all day long, you will be amazed at how much better you feel about yourself. And you will be amazed at the healthy impact you are teaching your children. Just because you didn't have a life of high self-esteem does not mean that your children need to lead their whole life in the same manner. It is not too late for all of us to turn it around. And I'm going to tell you that is never a time in all of history when this is urgent. The way we protect our children against being a victim of trafficking, against being a victim of online exploitation, against being a victim of low self-esteem, is we stop and we sit down as a family and we say, from this day forward, what we say to ourselves matters, and we are going to define our character and define our value, and we are going to reinforce that with our self-talk all day long. And anytime it comes to us that we may be less than, we're going to say, that's yesterday's model. I am a new person because I choose to believe in myself. I choose to believe in my children. I choose to believe in my family. And I choose to take the high road. I am going to find 3 things I like about myself, and I'm going to say that all day long. And tomorrow, pick 2 more and 3 more and write them down and share them with your family. And when someone starts to bring you or your child down, sit down with your child and say, wait a minute. We are people who are proud of who we are and what we stand for. We're going to write down our values, and that includes digital values. We don't share nudes online, and we don't put nudes online. We don't tear down people who have been victim of that. And we are people of digital empathy. We are going to care about other people and what happens online. We're going to learn the right way to live appropriately online. And we are going to go from this day forward setting a healthy and honorable digital reputation. That goes for me. That goes for grandma and grandpa and their romance scams. They're not going to participate. And that goes for our kids. We are going to teach them that what we say to ourselves matters, and we are going to be a family that is proud to take the high road, yes, even online. My name is Opal Singleton. I got real preachy on you there today. Forgive me, but it's something that has been near and dear to my heart, and I've been thinking about and wanted to share with you. I may be doing more of this in the near future, but I hope it's been helpful. Love you all, guys. Thank you for following us. Thank you for following this podcast. You can write to me at Opal, OPAL, at millionkids.org. Please go to millionkids.org and sign up for our newsletter. You'll get our future podcasts. You'll also get any other resources that are on there to help combat online exploitation of our kids. So thank you for listening. I'll see you next week on the Protect and Prevent podcast. Have a great week.